It also might be interesting to see how this picture of evolution, what it has to do with the idea which many physicists still believe, anyway, that the history of the universe is one of uniform second law of thermodynamics. Is the entropy of the universe increasing or not?
You see, this is a very complicated question. And I want not to be too, to make kind of statements about such kind of things, because the universe is very big, as you know, contains many things. And this requires a very detailed statistical theory, dynamical theory, you see, of entropy creation. And especially in this universe, gravitation also plays a very important role. And the question if gravitation is compatible with the second law and what are exactly the relation is something which is very difficult. However, let me again emphasize that whatever the details are, certainly, let's say, there is a tendency, there are irreversible processes in the universe, that is clear. And these irreversible processes increase entropy. Let's say there are also short-range forces involved and electromagnetic forces, and there is no doubt that for them entropy is increasing. However, this entropy increase is in a universe which is extremely far from equilibrium. And we have not the slightest vision of how this beautiful idea of this expanding universe will go back to some equilibrium state. In other words, the idea of heat death seems not be, there is nothing in the astrophysical picture, to my knowledge, which gives rise to any idea that this will be reversed. Because after all, according to what my astrophysical friends say, the universe is an open universe, and there is no enough matter to think that this trend will be reversed, and that at some point the universe will again collapse in some initial stage. You see, it seems that there is some kind of unique thing going on, if one can say so. And this, of course, is something very, very difficult, very leading to, from the philosophical point of view, to very deep problems for which, in fact, perhaps we have not the right language to tackle these problems, because in one way or another we are always coming to the same question: what means time on an enormous scale? Because if we speak about the starting point, then we have always the question, what was before the starting point? And then this is, of course, a very difficult question. In every sense, say there is no starting point and there was only a kind of phase transition or something like that, and the universe in one way or another is there forever, then the question is why we are still around, and why not everything has been said already and everything is already finished in a sense. And you see, between these two, I hope that Maharishi will make some comments about his very naive remarks. Because in a sense, this is, for me at least, a very difficult problem. I mean, it seems simply to indicate that it is a great difficulty for us to understand problems on of this global nature.
Now, what we have in this regard is that the knowledge is structured in consciousness, and then knowledge is different in different states of consciousness. There is a state of consciousness which sees all this change, identifies itself with change, and then tries to locate from where the change began, how this began, and where it's going, the whole source and course and goal of life. There is another state of consciousness in which one remains unidentified with the field of change, cosmic consciousness. It's a state of consciousness, definitely, like sleep, dream, waking. The transcendental consciousness, that infinite unboundedness is all that there is to it, nothing else. Like in sleep state of consciousness, nothing exists. In dream, it could be something else. So in transcendental consciousness, pure unboundedness, pure life, immortal, eternal, non-change, is completely unassociated with change. In cosmic consciousness, the change is there and the non-change is there. Both are there. One is a witness to everything, cosmic consciousness. Now in unity consciousness, everything is in terms of myself, and I am that unbounded, immortal, eternal. So the stories change, the realities change with changing values of consciousness. So what we find in this evolutionary models of nature, on the level of evolution of consciousness, values of the evolution is different, completely different. And each level has its own philosophy. That philosophy is irrelevant on a different level, completely irrelevant. And the reality of one level of consciousness belongs to that level of consciousness alone. It has nothing to do with the other level of consciousness. Like the philosophy of sleep, the reality of sleep, objectivity and subjectivity of sleep. These values have nothing to do with the state of dream consciousness, or waking state of consciousness, or transcendental consciousness, or cosmic consciousness, or unity consciousness. All these values are completely different in different states of consciousness with their specified values of principles and experiences. So the understanding and experiences. That is why we can't think of only one philosophy. We must be open to different philosophies, different principles guiding different levels of understandings, different levels of experiences.